Old school still gets it done, and flipping and pitching a Texas rig worm is probably caught me more fish than any finesse tactic ever, especially this time of year. And I'm gonna give you a few pointers, a few things that's helped me over the past, and show you particularly just this bait alone is about the only one that I flip and pitch when you get past June. Show you a little bit about what we're dealing with here. Right now it's September, and you know, I don't know if you live in the area of country I live in, fishing just kind of sucks. I mean, that's just the way it is this time of year. When you get any time past August, just fishing's not going to be that good until you get a little cooler weather and things kind of settle out with the fall turnover and so on. This one right here, this is a 10-inch worm. This particular one I got from Shop Crawls. This is a catchco 10-inch worm, just a 10-inch plastic worm. It's black with a little bit of blue flake in it. I got black with a little bit of red flake in it. Very simple concept. I've got a 3/16 tungsten sinker, a 5/0 offset worm hook, and I've also got 20-pound test fluorocarbon line, a 7-foot 3-inch rod. Doesn't matter what size rod you got. If you want to use a 7, you want to use a 610. Don't get obsessed over the details. And I've got a 7:3 to 1 gear ratio reel. That's the setup. This is simple. This is old school. Don't get fancy with it. Don't make it harder than it really is. I'm gonna show you some stuff I look for, why I think this little setup works so good and it's caught me so many fish over the years. And maybe it'll help you catch some fish when fishing just flat out sucks like how it does now. So there's basically two size worms that I'm going to use when I'm flipping the big worm. I've got a 10-inch, and then there's a 7-inch that I like to use. This is the I got this from Catchco. This is the Magnum Hustler worm. That's what it is, a 10-inch worm, June bug, black. I don't really have a whole bunch of colors that I use. That's just two colors I use. Typically the water is going to be a little bit more stained, and if I'm flipping or pitching this time of year, this is just the first bait I grab. That's just what I use. You know, it doesn't matter where I'm at. It doesn't matter if I'm South Carolina. It doesn't matter if I'm in Florida. I just like to use this bait. Easy. I'm going to show you how to do it. You guys know what Texas rig is. Here's my 5/0 offset hook. Here's my worm. I'm just going to thread it in the top right there. Go to about that second egg sac. I'm going to bring it out. This is really important. Before I turn that hook over to poke it through my plastic, before I get it to the eye, I like to turn it over right here, flip it around, push it up and over the eye, and there you go. Voila. Just make sure it's nice and straight. If it's not straight on your hook, then what's going to happen is somebody's going to call you right in the middle of one of your videos. So let me see who this is and we'll get back to rigging. Okay, so that's done. So yeah, standard Palomar knot, 3/16 ounce sinker that is not pegged. Why do I not peg my sinker? I don't really know why I don't peg my sinker, but I don't like it. I've tried it pegged. I feel like I lose a few more fish when I peg my sinker. I like to leave it free floating, free whatever, let it be free willy on your line. I like it sliding up and down it like that. One thing I can say is when you're flipping in really shallow water, when that sinker separates from your plastic, it does let your plastic look a little bit more realistic. That's all I got for you. All I know is I don't peg it. You can come up with a whole bunch of different reasons why you should or you shouldn't. I don't peg my sinker. That's all I got for you. But that's it, dude. This is not complicated. So many of the things in fishing that work the best are not complicated. And fishing really isn't hard. The techniques aren't hard. Finding the fish can be a lot more difficult sometimes. So that's it. I think it works good because it doesn't have a lot of action, just the way it shimmers and snakes in the water. it's just not that intimidating to a fish. These fish really aren't wanting to bite this time of year. When you're talking about in September and August, they're really not that excited about getting up and biting and doing anything, because the water's so hot. There's very little oxygen content, and in the daytime fish don't feed a lot. They just don't. And I think this is very unassuming, very intimidating. It's big, but at the same time it's sort of a finesse deal, because just the way it reacts in the water is very subtle in the water. So I think that's why it works so good. So I'll show you what I like to fish it around. Here's one of the number one things I'm looking for this time of year is shade. Anything that provides a little bit of shade, that's going to be a good place to fish. So, you know, anytime I'm fishing around docks or something like that, that's the number one place that you can start. Flip these docks, look for those shade lines, look for brush around the docks. Those are always good places to try to fish and flip, especially when you got off-colored water like what I've got here. Right, here's a good example of what I like to fish right here. You can see I got a dock that's got a lot of shade on it. I'm just gonna flip. I always make that easy flip first, right here to the front corner, because if I try to flip way back in there and I get hung up, you know, the first time, that's going to create some problems. I'm going to blow the dock out, and then, you know, you just don't really get to catch any fish because you blew it out. But I make that easy flip first. That easy, get the easy booty first. Get the easy cast in first, then you can start making some of those more difficult casts, flipping way back in there like that. I just take that guy and just kind of work it back. I actually work it pretty fast. I may work the bait fast, but I'm very thorough about how I work the dock. I'll make sure I hit the front, the back, the middle. This time of the year, you really kind of got to be thorough. Those fish aren't really swimming around the dock looking for something to eat. I always hit that. You see, I just hit that corner of that dock first. That's always the first flip I make. I'll hit the front corner, hit that corner, and then I'll start working my way back here shallow, making some of these more difficult flips after I've hit that pretty good. I'm never afraid to flip my bait too shallow. This time of year, those fish can get extremely shallow. I don't know why, but for some reason, when it's hot like this, way back here in the backs back here, that water right there is probably no more than about shin deep. It's a little more than ankle deep back there. And what I think it is those fish set out a little bit deeper. And what they plan to do is they set out deeper and they have their nose pointed towards the bank. And the water depth is actually a way for them to ambush brim and whatever swims in behind these docks, and they can run a brim up beside. You see I've got a seawall that's right here beside the dock, and they can pin those brim. They've got something to push them up against. I think that's why you can never be afraid to fish your bait too shallow. Even if there's not a seawall, what that does, when you fish close to the bank like that, they let those fish come from deep water, boom, come out and scare. They're a predator. They like to come out and say boo at stuff. They come out and push it up against that shallow water. That's how they get their prey. You think about it, it'd be a whole lot harder to chase something down and chase it out here to deeper water. But if I were to chase it to shallow water, it'd be easier to corral and to catch them. So I think that's why they sometimes get very, very shallow. You can get bit very shallow. Now my approach to laydowns is very similar, and probably 80% of the fish that I catch on this big worm this time of the year is probably fishing laydowns like you see right here. See, I've got a laydown that's right beside a dock, which is just juicy as I don't know what. And I'm always, even on a laydown, my first pitch with a big worm is going to be to the easy part first. Work the outside first, because I just don't want to flip in there, get hung up, and then you blow whatever else is out. So I'll flip around here on the edges. See, I got this laydown is pretty complex here. This is probably not the best one to make a example out of, but I'll flip around on these outside edges, try to be very quiet with the boat, not run the trolling motor as much as possible. Flip around the edges, flip around the edges. Man, you know, you can see I'm going from left to right, left to right. I'm gonna try to hit every little piece of it I can. And then what I'm gonna do after I've worked that really good, what I'm gonna do is just go right in the juice, right in the middle of it. And one thing I like about this worm, the big 10-inch worm, is a lot of times I'm swimming that bait. You know, it probably looks like I'm working my rod tip a lot, but I'm really not doing a whole lot to the bait because I'm working it on slack line. I'll pull it up over those limbs and then just pull it. And that bait, it just kind of swims. Pretty daggum irresistible to a bass. So I'll just pull it over like that, pull it up, over, and then let it sink back down. Up, over, and it swims a lot better than say a jig or some type of creature bait. It just looks a lot more angelic in the water, a lot less intimidating. It's actually very finessey, even though you got a 20-pound test line and it's 10 inches long. At the end of the day, it's really still a finesse approach because it's very unassuming. It doesn't have a whole bunch of action, so it's still kind of a finesse style bait. Doesn't plummet to the bottom. You got a little bit of resistance because of the tail action on it. But I'll flip that guy in the middle of a laydown like that, and you know, a lot of your bites will come on the outsides, just depending on the day, and then some days they come from the insides. It just depends on what day it is and how they're positioned on the structure, and you got to pay attention to all that. So my big 10-inch worm, that's my favorite bait to flip when you're talking about staying water flipping late summer going into early fall. It's hard to beat that for me. That's my go-to right there, the big 10-inch. Black, June bug, anything like that usually works. Keep it simple, folks. Simple still gets the job done. Get old Texas red, put it in your hand, put it in front of some bass. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you watching. If this video helps you, come back to the comments section after you catch a couple big ones and let everybody knows that it worked for you.